J.D. Vance crossed the picket line. Last week, the CWA, which represents the striking workers, said by crossing their picket line, J.D. Vance insulted the striking workers and working people across the country.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Without further ado, we will jump right into our first segment. Last week in Southern Labor, where we take a look at what working people and their unions were up to throughout the South and the American colonies. This roundup is going to be a 2-week roundup since we were pre-taped last week. So here's what workers in the U.S. South and the American colonies were up to from October 11th to the 25th. In new union campaigns, workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify the International Union of Operating Engineers, IUOE Local 564, as the union representing 5 workers at Kinder Morgan in Texas City, Texas. 9 workers at St. Regis Hotel in Washington, D.C. filed a petition to hold a union election with IUOE Local 99. 75 workers at Lewis Ginter Botanical Garden in Richmond, Virginia filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, IAMAW. 22 workers at CBG Express in Fort Myers, Florida filed a petition to hold a union election with the Teamsters, Local 79. 650 graduate student workers at St. Louis University in St. Louis, Missouri filed a petition to hold a union election with graduate workers of St. Louis University, UAW. 31 security guards at Maxcent Security in Memphis, Tennessee filed a petition to hold a union election with the Security Police and Fire Professionals of America, SPFPA. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 25 workers at United Rentals in Kansas City, Missouri demonstrated support for unionization with the Teamsters, Local 541. 18 workers at Gap in Richmond Heights, Missouri filed a petition to hold a union election with the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW, Local 655. 13 workers at Durham City Transit Company in Durham, North Carolina filed a petition to hold a union election with the Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU, Local 1493. 4 workers at Science Applications International Corporation, SAIC, in Dallas, Texas, filed a petition to hold a union election with the IAMAW. 25 workers at United Cleanup Oak Ridge in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Chemical Workers Union, ICWU, Local 715C, a UFCW affiliate. 110 workers at Professional Contract Services in Fort Knox, Kentucky filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW, Local 369. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify their union, unnamed on the NLRB's website, as the union representing 22 workers at San Rafael Cooperativa in Quebradillas, Puerto Rico. The National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, the federal agency tasked with administering union elections and other enforcement actions of the National Labor Relations Act, announced that union election petitions in fiscal year 2024, which just ended, are double what they were in fiscal year 2021 and up 23% from fiscal year 2023. Similarly, ULP cases are up 7% from the prior year. Despite this increase in work, the NLRB has significantly less staff. In 2011, the last time the agency had this much work, they had 62% more staff. That's 1,222 employees then versus 754 now. In election results, 14 workers at Starbucks in Atlanta, Georgia voted 2-9 against unionization with Starbucks Workers United, as did 22 more workers at a Norfolk, Virginia location. 20 workers at a location in Fredericksburg, Virginia broke the losing streak this week, voting for unionization 9-8, and 14 workers at a Starbucks in Bossier City, Louisiana also voted to unionize. 4 workers at American Electric Power in Zapata, Texas voted 2-1 in favor of unionization with IBEW Local 738. 3 workers at CAE USA in Meridian, Mississippi, voted unanimously in favor of unionization with the IAMAW. 60 workers at Merson USA GSTN in Columbia, Tennessee, voted 39-13 in favor of unionization with the CWA's Industrial Division, IUE-CWA. 12 workers at SAIC in Dallas, Texas, voted unanimously in favor of unionization with the IAMAW. 10 workers at Big Sandy Rural Electric Cooperative Corporation in Paintsville, Kentucky, voted 2-6 against unionization with the IBEW Local 317. 24 workers at Business Enabled Acquisition and Technology in San Antonio, Texas, voted 15-1 in favor of unionization with the Office and Professional Employees International Union, OPEIU, Local 4873. 79 workers at PepsiCo in Houston, Texas, voted 44-30 against decertifying their union, meaning the Teamsters Local 988 remains. 222 workers at UNFI in Atlanta, Georgia, voted 125-56 in favor of unionization with the Teamsters Local 728. 11 workers at Pulao Corporation in Fort Hood, Texas, voted 1-3 against unionization with IAMAW. 97 workers at Sapporo Stone Brewing in Richmond, Virginia, voted 32-58 against unionization with the Warehouse Employees Local 322, a Teamsters affiliate. 64 workers at Parsec in Jacksonville, Florida, voted 32-26 in favor of unionization with the Teamsters Local 512. 65 workers at Imperial in Tulsa, Oklahoma, voted 40-17 in favor of unionization with the Teamsters Local 886. 3 workers at John Fabic Tractor Company in Rolla, Missouri, voted 2-1 in favor of unionization with the IUOE Local 513. 8 workers at Reliable Automotive in Springfield, Missouri, voted 6-1 in favor of unionization with the IAMAW District Lodge 9. 10 workers at Environmental Air Systems in High Point, North Carolina, withdrew their petition for a union election with the United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, UA, Local 421. And 34 workers at Hotel Equities Group in Austin, Texas, voted 24-8 in favor of unionization with Unite Here, Local 23.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
In settlements, grievances, and unfair labor practices, Michael Sinato at The Guardian has a detailed report about sexism and racism that employees are dealing with at the post office in Florida. Josh Idelson at Bloomberg has a detailed report about how Rivian, an electric vehicle manufacturer, got more OSHA violations than any other automotive manufacturer last year. In strikes and bargaining updates, UE Local 150, the union representing public sector workers in North Carolina, announced that they had won a $13,000 raise for registered nurses at Central Regional Hospital. They said that they will continue fighting for other members in the state's Department of Health and Human Services. International Paper is closing a cardboard manufacturing facility in Cleveland, Tennessee, killing 115 jobs. A quick search makes it appear as if this is a union plant, but I cannot find any comment from the union. They're also cutting 400 what appear to be union jobs in Memphis, Tennessee. CWA Southeast members at AT&T ratified their tentative agreement with the company, ending the possibility that the strike begins again. They won a 20% wage increase, among other things. CWA West members also ratified their tentative agreement. The U.S. Department of Labor is following other federal agencies in further restricting telework, a directive coming down that employees must work at least 5 days per 2-week pay period in the office, and saying that they had met their obligations to bargain over the change, but the union representing the affected workers, the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, disagrees and has expressed disappointment in the agency's actions. The National Association of Letter Carriers, NALC, announced a tentative agreement with the Postal Service to a wave of criticism with claims that it doesn't meet the needs of letter carriers. Highlights from the contract include 1.3% annual raises, increased healthcare costs, and remaining tiers, though the progression is compressed somewhat from 13 to 11 years. We'll be talking more about that later in the program momentarily with NALC President Brian Renfro. Workers at the Urban Institute, a progressive think tank unionized with IFPTE's nonprofit Employees Union, NPEU, announced they had reached a tentative agreement with their employer. The Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees, BMWE, a Teamsters rail affiliate, voted down tentative agreements with both CSX and Norfolk Southern by almost 70% and 60% respectively. Nurses, unionized with the National Nurses United, NNU, voted to ratify new contracts with HCA hospitals at 17 hospitals in 6 states, including Florida, Missouri, North Carolina, and Texas. All but 2 of the hospitals are in the South. The contracts include a 15% wage increase over 3 years, plus provisions designed to improve problems related to staffing. Rail machinists voted down a tentative agreement with CSX by 61%. This is the union where reformer Reese Murtaugh was recently elected instead of the incumbent. The Kansas City Tenants Union in Kansas City, Missouri, who are on rent strike at 2 properties, announced that they secured $1.3 million for necessary improvements to their homes, but that they will continue the strike if more structural solutions are not met by November the 1st. Staff of the Association of Professional Flight Attendants, APFA, represented by the UAW, went on strike for the first time in the unit's history and reached a tentative agreement 3 days later. Registered nurses at University Medical Center in New Orleans went on a 1-day strike and were subsequently locked out for 2 more days. Nurses say they are striking to improve patient care. Reports have been sent to us that scab nurses are having trouble finding hotels because Taylor Swift is in town. In political and legislative updates, Amtrak passenger service is coming back to Mobile, Alabama, thanks to investments from the Biden administration. Transportation Secretary Buttigieg came to the state to mark the event. Republicans on the U.S. House Appropriations Committee, including Alabama Representative Robert Aderholt, advanced an appropriations bill that blocks any funding to implement the newly finalized rule to limit coal miners' exposure to silica dust, the major cause of black lung today. The United Mine Workers of America, UMWA, attacked the move, saying, quote, "The action from the House Republicans is a direct attack on the health and safety of coal miners." Despite another successful launch by United Launch Alliance and their union crew, SpaceX won a recent contract with the Space Force worth about $733 million. The UMWA and Sparks, a battery manufacturer, announced that they had secured an almost $10 million grant from the DOE for production of a battery manufacturing facility in West Virginia. The union has already secured a labor management agreement that they say prioritizes the needs of local workers who have faced challenges in the wake of coal industry declines. AFGE is condemning false claims about FEMA employees in the wake of the disaster that are putting AFGE members at risk. The NLRB is contemplating closing the Memphis sub-regional office and recruiting a resident agent instead. The agency says that this move would be done without job losses or breaks in coverage. They are soliciting public comments about the proposal. 79 Congress members sent a letter to Stellantis CEO calling out the company for failing to uphold contractual obligations to UAW members. The UAW released data last week showing that Harris has a 22% lead over Trump with their members in swing states, including North Carolina and Georgia. For members who have been contacted by the union, the lead grows to 29%. Harris even leads by 5% among white, non-college educated members. The UAW says this is a result of their comprehensive political education program. J.D. Vance crossed a picket line last week to write an op-ed for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, where workers have been on strike for over 2 years. The CWA, which represents the striking workers, said, quote, "By crossing their picket line, J.D. Vance insulted the striking workers, insulted the people of Pittsburgh, and insulted working people across the country." You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project. And you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.